The proposal that we sent you actually contemplates a DACA immigration deal being done, because we recognize the fact that you have no interest in giving us money for the full border wall unless it's part of a larger comprehensive immigration bill. So we fully contemplate that that deal is reached.
Well, that was Office of Management and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney today testifying before the Senate Committee on the Trump administration's proposed budget for fiscal year 2019, making it clear President Trump fully intends on finding a DACA deal in exchange for border wall funding. Joining me now, Adriana Cohen, Boston Herald radio host and syndicated columnist, Vince Colonnese, the Daily Caller editorial director, and Sarah Westwood, Washington Examiner White House correspondent. Sarah, let me start with you. President Trump pressed hard even in the trade talks with lawmakers. He kept bringing up DACA, kept bringing it up. It's obvious that he wants this deal very badly.
Absolutely. President Trump has expressed skepticism all along that Democrats actually want a deal on DACA. He's accused Democrats of wanting to preserve that issue so they can run on it in November, that they aren't actually interested in legislating a solution for Dreamers. But the budget that the White House has put forward would provide $25 billion for that border wall over a specified period of years, only if DACA protections are reached. So the White House is willing to use that as a bargaining chip to try to get those protections for Dreamers, to try to get this comprehensive immigration deal. Otherwise, it's only $3 billion that's appropriated for the wall in the budget that Mick Mulvaney said he wouldn't vote for if he was still a congressman. So it'll be interesting to see if the White House is able to get all the funding for the border wall that they've said all along that they want to obtain.
Well, at $3 billion, it becomes something of a Potemkin village or something like that. I don't know. Adriana, the Democrats, I really believe that they're in a tough position here because that offer that President Trump made them has shocked conservatives. In fact, I think it's shocked everyone. 1.8 million DACA recipients with a path to citizenship. How do they turn that down?
That's right. I mean, Democrats are really in a box here because Dreamers are counting on them to, give them amnesty effectively. And they've had years to act on this, and they haven't done it. And if Democrats fail Dreamers now, they're going to lose that vital constituency. And it's going to hurt them in the midterms and in 2020 because they're really going to let that base down. And I think President Trump is really offering a fair deal. He's offering amnesty, which not many conservatives would do, in exchange for border security, as you know, and common sense immigration reforms. I can tell you this, even those Dreamers, they want their families to be safe. To say that they don't even want a border wall, don't they want to protect their families from thugs and gangs? Yes, they do. So this is a reasonable compromise, and I think Democrats would be making a huge mistake to shoot this down.
Although, Vince, it appears to me that President Trump may want it enough that Democrats push the envelope all the way, perhaps trying to at least get one more concession. That would be with chain migration.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think that's one of the core issues here. And Democrats are having trouble even voicing why they're opposed to constricting chain migration.
Because Pelosi said so?
Yeah, I mean, they literally are making up racist claims about it. They say chain migration is an allusion to slavery. They're grasping at straws to try and make it work, when the truth is chain migration and ending the diversity visa lottery are fairly common sense. They are looking for a foothold that they don't have yet. And before long, immigration activists are going to start to realize the president's the only one who's arguing for an amnesty that can actually get passed for them. And it's not Democrats.
You know, it's interesting, and not to very too far off, Sarah, but we had a guest on earlier with Trish who did that with chain migration and said the only immigrants who came here in chains were slaves. Of course, demographers use that term going back to 1960 to explain what this is. So it seems like the progressive talking points are in place for this. First, you make it racist, and then you make everything else around it racist, and you chip away at it till perhaps it works in the public's mind. But there's not a lot of time for such a campaigning for me. It feels like this is do or die unless the courts completely intervene, and this is the moment of truth. If Democrats care about these DACA recipients here, shouldn't they step up to the plate now?
Well, that's the logic of Republicans, and certainly the plan that the White House put forward is actually not appealing to a lot of conservatives. It was a little too generous to Democrats. For a lot of Republicans, it extended that pathway to citizenship for the 1.8 million Dreamers, not just the 600,000 or so that were currently enrolled in DACA like the White House originally said it was going to do. So the Republicans have gone above and beyond what they originally said they would be willing to put on the table in exchange for these changes to the diversity visa lottery program, the border wall, etc.
Real quick, guys, before we wrap this up, and I'll start with you, Vince. If there's a DACA deal, which party benefits most in the midterm elections?
Ultimately, if there's a deal, I think that Republicans will benefit the most, because this is from its moment of inception is the ownership of Donald Trump. Ultimately, there's going to be plenty of evidence for immigration activists that he had their interests at heart, whether or not conservatives ultimately agreed.
Adriana?
Yes, I agree with that. Democrats to date have not been able to protect these dreamers and give them amnesty. It's only President Trump who's going to provide that for them. So that's a huge win for him.
Sarah?
Absolutely. I think if Republicans are able to put together a deal that delivers for some portions of their base, then that will be something that they can run on in the midterms.
Well, no wonder Nancy Pelosi hates it, huh? This is the ultimate test of resistance. All right, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. Coming up, stocks rebounding.